What is going on, guys? Today we're going to be discussing my least favorite part about kayaking, and that is dragging. Have you ever just been paddling and then out of nowhere you run aground or hit a random rock?
And we are soaking wet and oh no! No!
Yeah, I hate that. I can't stand it. And out here in Texas, it happens all of the time. So we're gonna run through 3 solutions to help mitigate running aground. This is the biggest thing I try to avoid when I'm planning a kayak camping trip.
No! Beached. You got stuck.
He's attacking it.
So out here in Texas, at least in the areas that we like to go kayak camping, we don't get the most rain. And it's an aquifer system, and so the aquifer has to fill up before the rivers really flow well. So all the springtime rains and hopefully fall rains will come through, fill up the aquifers, and then you could potentially have a really nice long spring-fed kayaking season.
Oh my gosh! Oh dude! Oh! 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 Oh shit!
However, if that never happens, then you're looking at death and despair and lots of dragging. So this is one of the main things that we plan for during kind of like the pre-stages of going on a trip. And when I look back at the earliest trips I've planned, and it really still happens today, I didn't know how to properly look at flow rates and understand what would be a good river and a good time to go paddle that certain stretch. And so, what do? We had to get out of our kayaks a lot and drag them across flats and super shallow sections.
We haven't had to walk much today, but we've hit a little stretch. I think we're getting close to Garner. And we've had to do a little bit of walking. What's up, boys? If it weren't so beautiful, this would be miserable.
What really sucked is we were in and out of the boats constantly, which, I mean, I know you guys have all had to do it. It takes a toll on you. I mean, you scuff up your wrists, ankles, hands, getting in and out. It's a little bit sketchy. Sometimes the rocks are really slippery, and it opens you up to injury, which is what we're trying to avoid when you're out in the backcountry.
This is our first walking section of the trip. Almost took a bath. Oh man, I do not miss these.
So after my first trip out to the Medina River, it was really apparent that dragging was going to be a huge concern whenever we were planning. And we were about to go out to the FRIO River in a couple weeks, and there hadn't been much rain. The flow rates were about the same. And I was researching on Google Earth the path that we were going to do, and I could tell there were some huge sections of shallows. And so I didn't have any sort of equipment to help me through the shallow sections on the Medina. I needed to change that for the FRIO, or else it was going to be even worse this time around. Just because the FRIO is a little bit wider, a little bit shallower in places, even though it generally has more water in it, the flat sections are much gnarlier and much longer. And I couldn't go through another section of dragging and having my hand down on the bow of the boat, just pulling it along, because that's exhausting, guys. So I took to Amazon and started searching DIY products that could help me out. Fortunately, I have one really good piece of gear, and it's super budget friendly, that can really help out with that. That is my climbing rope dog leash. Yeah, I've had it for actually many years, and it shows no sign of wear or tear. So this thing stays attached to my boats at all times. Every time I go on a trip, this is attached to the kayak I'm using. It helped me stand upright and be able to pull my kayak just like a dog. Have you ever thought about walking your dog holding its collar? Whenever it's escaped the leash, that's exactly what it's like to be bending down, pulling your kayak along. So why not use a dog leash? One other really good use for this system is to attach your boat to a tree or something on the side of the bank whenever you're just pulling over for a break. That way it doesn't float away on you. So I'll attach it, keep it rolled up at the front of the boat, and then whenever I need it, I just yank it, and it's really good in emergency situations or dragging situations. An all-around great piece of kit. I'll have it linked below so you have easy access, but it's made out of durable climbing rope. It has a handle on it, so you can pull it as a really good form factor. And then it comes with this black carabiner little clip already built into it. So then I took a more durable beaner and added it to this whole deal so I could clip it to the front handle of my kayak. This changed the game. It's the 6-foot long version. And what this allowed me to do is clip it onto the kayak and either lead the boat, pulling it as a drag, or you can kind of turn the boat around and let it go downstream, and you can easily let it go down the rapids. Now, one thing I see it's a mistake that I see, and it's very common, is to attach this to the back of your boat and go down a rapid, letting your boat still face forward. Well, if you think about the ergonomics of a kayak, the front is supposed to take the brunt of the water and the waves and the rapids. So when you're going down a rapid, turn your boat around so that the front is facing you. You always want the front of the boat to be facing the current. Next up on the list is go find yourself a paddle that is made up of fiberglass. Fiberglass is kind of in between the flimsy plastic you'll see a lot of big box stores and then the carbon fiber paddles that you'll see more advanced paddlers using. And really what this paddle is going to help you out, it's going to help you to dig into the bottom of the river when you're still in the kayak and push along. So essentially, you take it right here, and then you shove it down, and you can leverage yourself a little bit and kind of contort your body so that you slide off the rock. If you're just beached or something, this isn't going to get you past a super shallow section, but if you can stay in the kayak and you think you can make it through a skinny, then this will be really helpful. And the great thing about fiberglass is that it's really rigid. Like, you can't bend this at all. You can see the edges are pretty chewed up on mine. But these will take a beating and they won't break on you, which, golly, that's the last thing you need. Out in the backcountry is have your paddle break on you. It's happened to Bennett before, and he had one of the more flimsy paddles, like this Ascend paddle. You know, it's just, I don't know if you can, but yeah, if you shove this one down into the rocks, there's a huge risk of the tip snapping off, or even more. You know, these are fine. Really, you can find a fiberglass paddle for 20 bucks more than one of these, and so I will always recommend that. This No Limits is the Academy brand paddle, and it's been super, super nice over the years. I've since switched to carbon fiber, an RPC3 paddle, but this one I'll bring with me if I know it's gonna be super skinny and I'm gonna have to do a lot of pushing, or pulling, I guess you would just call it pulling. And then my final tip is to check the USGS flow rate gauges online. Most every river that you're gonna be visiting should have these for it. And you know, this is a preventative step in the planning process. So if I look at a river and it's a flow rate that I know is going to suck, I will just not do it. This flow rate is the biggest non-starter for me. So, say the FRIO's at 50. I've done it at 50 and it wasn't that fun. If I check the gauges, I'm not gonna go back and do it at 50 CFS again, because then none of my friends will wanna come with me and I won't have a good time. So yes, always check the USGS flow rate, and that way you can prevent a dragging situation before it even starts. And you know, flow rate information comes to you as you paddle more and more rivers in a particular region, because in East Texas, flow rates are completely different than that in the hill country, for instance. So an average flow rate in the hill country right now is 50 CFS, whereas if you go out to East Texas, they're all flowing at several hundred. And if you look at a big river, it'll have several thousand. But sometimes several hundred isn't enough, and that'll even be low. One final bonus tip to avoid dragging is to read the river appropriately. And Pete Beck with the River Kings has a fantastic video series about how to read a river, and essentially it comes down to choose the V. So whenever you have water about to rush over a rapid, small or big, the deepest section will always have a V come to it, and that's where you want to ride, and you should be good if you follow it. Not always, you might do some dragging on the way down, but you'll make it further down the rapid if you do follow that V. So now that you guys kind of have an idea of some of the tools that I will use to avoid dragging, or some of the tools I use to lessen the painful experience of dragging, I hope that you can implement these in the rivers that you all are paddling. Armed with the right tools, you can make an experience much better than it otherwise could have been. And that's what we're here to do on these tutorial type videos. I hope you guys appreciated the, I guess technically 4 tips that we just went over. If you want to see these tips implemented, I would urge you to check out my adventure videos. It's by far the best playlist on my channel with all of the fun times that we've had and the big adventures, the paddling trips, the bikes, all sorts of cool stuff. Y'all go check it out right now. I guarantee you'll enjoy it. All right,